My name is Rachel Harper, and for 34 years, I've lived in the shadow of my younger sister Vanessa, the golden child who could do no wrong. Our parents, Richard and Diane, built their world around her, leaving me to pick up the scraps of their attention. I was the scapegoat, the one they blamed for everything, the one they never truly saw. This is the story of the worst betrayal my family ever hid from me, a secret that shattered my trust and forced me to confront the toxic dynamics I'd endured my whole life. It's also the story of how I fought for my cousin's children, Emma and Noah, and built a new family from the ruins of the one I lost. The shadow of Vanessa. The house I grew up in, a 2-story colonial in a quiet Colorado suburb, was a shrine to Vanessa. Her beauty pageant crowns glittered on the mantel, her school play posters adorned the walls, and every family dinner revolved around her latest triumph. At 13, she was already a star. Golden curls, a dazzling smile, and a charisma that made adults fawn over her. My parents, Richard and Diane, saw her as their ticket to pride, a reflection of their success. My father, a high school principal, and my mother, a real estate agent catering to Denver's elite, cared about appearances above all else. Vanessa was their masterpiece. I was the opposite. At 15, I was awkward, with straight brown hair, glasses, and a quiet demeanor that my mother called difficult. I wasn't unattractive, but I wasn't Vanessa. My parents didn't hide their disappointment. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" my mother would snap when I forgot a chore or got a B on a test. My father was worse. He barely acknowledged me, his eyes always on Vanessa, praising her every move. I learned early that love in our family was conditional, and I didn't meet the conditions. The favoritism was relentless. Vanessa got private dance lessons, new dresses, and trips to pageants across the state. I got hand-me-downs, extra chores, and lectures about responsibility. If Vanessa broke something, it was an accident. If I did, it was carelessness. She could skip school for auditions, but if I missed a day due to a cold, I was faking it. The worst part was Vanessa herself. She knew she was the favorite and wielded it like a weapon. In private, she'd taunt me, calling me the boring one or the mistake. In front of our parents, she was all smiles, and they'd laugh off her cruelty as sibling rivalry. It wasn't rivalry, it was a one-sided assault. High school was my refuge. I threw myself into mock trial, where I found my voice, and the school newspaper, where I wrote op-eds about social justice. I wasn't flashy like Vanessa, but I was good, really good. I won regional mock trial competitions, earned scholarships, and got accepted to a top-tier college in California. When I told my parents, hoping for a flicker of pride, my mother said, "That's nice, Rachel, but Vanessa's auditioning for a national pageant next month. We're all focused on that." My father didn't even look up from his coffee. I left for college with a suitcase and a heart full of resentment, determined to prove them wrong. Building my own world. College was my salvation. At UC Berkeley, I was Rachel, not Vanessa's sister. I majored in political science, interned at a public defender's office, and graduated with honors. Law school followed, fueled by a passion to fight for the underdog, people like me who'd been overlooked or wronged. By 30, I was a public defender in Denver, working grueling hours to defend clients who couldn't afford private attorneys. My office was a cramped cubicle in a rundown building, but every case I won felt like a victory against the world that had tried to keep me small. Vanessa, meanwhile, had moved to Los Angeles, chasing fame as an actress. She landed a few commercials and a minor role in a TV show, but her big break never came. My parents bankrolled her lifestyle, rent, acting classes, designer clothes, while she posted glamorous photos on Instagram, cultivating an image of success. When I visited home for holidays, my parents would gush about Vanessa's potential, ignoring my actual achievements. "You're doing okay, Rachel," my mother would say, her tone dismissive, but Vanessa's so close to making it big. It hurt, but I'd learned to expect it. I started therapy in my late 20s, unpacking the damage of my childhood. My therapist, Dr. Ellis, helped me name what I'd been through: narcissistic parenting, scapegoating, emotional neglect. I learned that my anxiety, panic attacks that hit like thunderstorms, self-doubt that whispered I'd never be enough, wasn't my fault. Therapy was a lifeline, but it didn't erase the pain of knowing my family would never see me the way they saw Vanessa. The betrayal came to light when I was 32, during a rare family gathering at my parents' house. Vanessa was there with her new boyfriend Derek, a slick Hollywood producer, and my cousin Laura's kids, Emma, 9, and Noah, 7. Laura, the only family member who'd ever truly seen me, had died 2 years earlier in a car accident. Her ex-husband Mike had custody of the kids, but he was unreliable, often dodging my calls. I'd tried to stay in touch with Emma and Noah, sending them birthday cards and visiting when I could, but it was hard to break through Mike's chaos. At dinner, Vanessa was her usual charming self, regaling everyone with tales of LA. But I noticed Emma and Noah were quiet, their eyes downcast, picking at their food. Noah had faint bruises on his arm, barely visible under his sleeve. When I asked him about it, he flinched and mumbled, "I fell." Vanessa quickly changed the subject, but my instincts, honed from years of defending clients in crisis, screamed that something was wrong. The secret unraveled. Later that night, I pulled Emma aside in the backyard, where the kids were playing under the glow of string lights. "Is everything okay at home?" I asked, keeping my voice soft. She hesitated, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. "Dad's been weird," she whispered. "He's always mad, and Vanessa, she's living with us now. She says she's taking care of us, but she's always on her phone or out with Derek." My heart sank. Vanessa was living with Mike and the kids. Why hadn't anyone told me? I confronted my parents the next morning. "Why is Vanessa living with Mike?" I demanded. My mother avoided my gaze, stirring her coffee. "She's helping out," she said vaguely. "Mike's been struggling, and Vanessa's good with kids." My father snapped, "It's none of your business, Rachel. You're always making things complicated." But I pressed, and finally my mother admitted the truth. Mike had been battling addiction, and Vanessa had moved in to stabilize the household. My parents had arranged it, even paying Vanessa a monthly stipend, because they thought she was better suited to handle the kids. They hadn't told me because they didn't think I'd understand. I was stunned. Laura's kids were being neglected, and my parents had entrusted them to Vanessa, the most self-absorbed person I knew, without even consulting me. Worse, they'd kept it a secret for 6 months. It wasn't just a betrayal of me, it was a betrayal of Laura's memory and her children's safety. I felt a rage I'd never known before, mixed with a bone-deep sadness. My family had chosen Vanessa's ego over Emma and Noah's well-being, and they'd left me in the dark to protect their perfect image. I drove to Mike's house that afternoon, unannounced. The place was a disaster. Empty beer bottles on the floor, dishes piled in the sink, the air thick with cigarette smoke. Vanessa was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Emma and Noah watched a blaring TV. "What are you doing here, Rachel?" Vanessa asked, her voice dripping with irritation. "I'm here for the kids," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "This isn't okay, Vanessa. They're not safe here." She laughed, a cold, mocking sound. "You think you can just swoop in and play hero? You're not their mum. I'm handling it." But I saw the fear in Emma's eyes, the way Noah hunched his shoulders like he was bracing for a blow. They weren't being handled. They were being abandoned. Taking a stand. That night I called Child Protective Services, CPS, reporting suspected neglect. The caseworker, Carla, was kind but overworked. She interviewed Emma and Noah the next day, and their stories broke my heart. Emma described how Mike would disappear for days, leaving them with Vanessa, who often locked herself in her room or left them alone to go out with Derek. Noah said he was scared of his dad's angry voice and Vanessa's indifference. Carla confirmed my fears. The kids were in an unsafe environment. CPS placed them in temporary foster care while they investigated, and I filed for emergency custody. Vanessa was livid. She called me, screaming, "You're trying to ruin my life. Mum and Dad trusted me with this, not you." I hung up, my hands shaking, but her words echoed my mother's from years ago. "You're difficult, Rachel." The betrayal cut deeper knowing my parents had chosen Vanessa's ego over the kids' safety, just as they'd always chosen her over me. I threw myself into the custody battle, using every ounce of my legal expertise. As a public defender, I knew the system, its strengths, its flaws, its biases. I documented everything. Photos of Mike's house, texts from Vanessa dismissing the kids' needs, medical reports noting Noah's bruises. I reached out to my therapist, Dr. Ellis, who helped me manage the anxiety that flared with every confrontation. I was fighting not just for Emma and Noah, but for the part of me that had been ignored my whole life. My parents took Vanessa's side as always. They called me selfish, accused me of tearing the family apart. "Vanessa's trying her best," my mother said. "You're just jealous, like always." My father refused to speak to me. Their words stung, but I was done seeking their approval. Emma and Noah were my priority now, and I wouldn't let them down the way my family had let me down. The courtroom war. The custody battle was brutal. Mike, backed by my parents' money, hired a high-priced lawyer who painted me as an overzealous meddler with no parenting experience. Vanessa testified that she'd been selflessly caring for the kids, claiming I was jealous of her role. My parents took the stand, saying I'd always been unstable and resentful of Vanessa. They brought up my college struggles with anxiety, twisting them to suggest I wasn't fit to care for Emma and Noah. I fought back with everything I had. I presented evidence, photos of Mike's house, CPS reports, text messages from Vanessa telling the kids to stop whining. I called character witnesses, my boss, who praised my dedication, my therapist, who testified to my stability, and Laura's best friend, who confirmed Laura would have wanted me to protect her kids. Most importantly, I had Emma and Noah's voices. In a closed session, Emma described Mike's rages and Vanessa's neglect, her voice trembling but clear. Noah, too young for formal testimony, drew pictures for the caseworker, dark scribbles of himself hiding from his father's yelling. The turning point came when I uncovered Vanessa's financial deception. I'd hired a private investigator dipping into my savings and found bank records showing my parents had sent Vanessa thousands of dollars for the kids' expenses. But her social media told a different story. New clothes, expensive dinners, a weekend in Vegas. When I presented this in court, Vanessa's charm cracked. She stammered, claiming the money was for family needs, but the judge wasn't buying it. The judge granted me temporary custody with a plan for permanent guardianship if Mike and Vanessa didn't meet CPS requirements. Emma and Noah moved into my Denver apartment, and for the first time in months, I saw them smile. Really smile. But the victory was bittersweet. My parents cut me off, and Vanessa vowed revenge, posting cryptic messages online about family betrayals. I knew the fight wasn't over, but I was ready. A new home. Life with Emma and Noah was a whirlwind. I transformed my spare room into a colourful space for them, with bunk beds, fairy lights, and shelves for their books and toys. Emma was quiet at first, wary of trusting anyone after so much neglect. Noah was clingy, always checking to see if I was still there. We started therapy together, working through their trauma and my own. My anxiety flared, panic attacks at night, worrying I wasn't enough. But Dr. Ellis helped me stay grounded. I enrolled the kids in school and extracurriculars. Emma discovered a love for painting, her canvases filling our apartment with colour. Noah joined a soccer team, and I cheered at his games, determined to be the family member I'd never had. Balancing work was tough. My caseload as a public defender was relentless, but my boss was supportive, letting me adjust my hours. I took on high-profile cases, using my platform to advocate for kids in the system. Every win felt like a step toward proving I could do this, that I could be the parent Emma and Noah needed. Vanessa and Mike faded from our lives. Mike failed his drug tests, and Vanessa lost interest in the parenting classes CPS required. My parents tried to guilt me into reconciling, but I held firm. I'd spent too long chasing their approval. Now my focus was on building a safe, loving home for the kids. The long road to healing. The years that followed were a mix of joy and struggle. Emma and Noah had nightmares, trust issues, and moments of anger at their parents. But slowly, they healed. Emma's paintings won school awards, and Noah became a star on his soccer team. We built traditions. Friday movie nights, Sunday hikes in the Rockies, holiday baking sessions where flour ended up everywhere. They called me Aunt Rachel at first, but one day Noah slipped and called me Mum. My heart swelled, and I didn't correct him. My career soared despite the challenges. I was promoted to senior public defender, leading a team that fought for justice in Denver's overcrowded courts. I started a blog about my experiences, sharing stories of overcoming family trauma and advocating for kids in foster care. Readers reached out, sharing their own stories of surviving narcissistic parents or sibling favoritism. Their messages became my lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't alone. My parents never apologized, but they softened over time, sending occasional cards for the kids' birthdays. Vanessa moved back to LA, her dreams of fame fading. She'd call sometimes, asking for money or favors, but I set boundaries, refusing to let her pull me back into her chaos. I found a new family, not just Emma and Noah, but friends, colleagues, and a support group for survivors of narcissistic parenting. They were my chosen family, the ones who saw me for me. A new legacy. At Emma's high school graduation, I sat in the front row, tears streaming down my face as she crossed the stage. Her valedictorian speech was about resilience, about finding family in unexpected places. Noah, now a lanky 15-year-old, sat beside me cheering louder than anyone. After the ceremony, Emma hugged me tightly and whispered, "You're our real mum." I didn't cry then. I'd learned to be strong for them, but my heart was full. The betrayal that had broken me had also set me free. My parents' secret, their choice to prioritize Vanessa's ego over Emma and Noah's safety, was the worst thing they'd ever done. But it led me to the kids, to a life I'd never dared to dream of. I wasn't the golden child, and I never would be. I was Rachel Harper, lawyer, guardian, survivor, and that was enough.